Good morning. Today is Sunday, January 5th, 2025, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast. So, looking at where Bitcoin went in the last week and where Bitcoin could potentially go in the future. So, this is the first forecast of the year. Again, it's January 5th, and we have started a new 3 month candle. So, this is the beginning of a new quarter. Again, usually I start on the monthly chart, but when you're starting a new quarter, it is a good thing to look at. So, this is the new quarterly candle, and it is moving to the upside so far, and I think that will continue. This is going to be definitely a positive quarterly candle. You had a very strong quarter last year at the very strong Q4, so that was October, November, December, and then Q3 was pretty much stagnant. Didn't really do much. It ranged. It went up and down. Q2 was down, and then Q1 was monstrous last year. I believe Q1 is going to be monstrous this year too. So yeah, it's all good. So let's just look at it historically, right? So October, the Q4, great. Q1, not so great there. No, I'm not going to go through each one of those, but anyway, as you can see, we're in the middle of the bull market here. We've already gone through like the downturn. It pretty much looks like a Nike swoop, right? Like you have this big, it's a parabola. It literally just goes here, and now we get into that parabolic motion. So not too much to look at there. Monthly chart, kind of paints a picture a little bit. Bounced off this 50-month moving average and came down here. Here was your bull flag. You end up coming up here. December, you broke up. January, I think you'll have a much more solid movement because like now it is to the point where you've already punctured this area and you've already gone above it. So it's not going to be too much to, once you start getting above 110 and really get above all this area and clean all this up, it's going to move very quickly. So let me jump back to the 3 month chart. One thing I did want to talk about is the imbalance here. So if I look at the 3 month chart, like there is a big area where between here where this green area is highlighted that hasn't come back down. But the same thing happened here. So there was an attempt. It came down a little bit. Didn't feel all this imbalance, and then also didn't feel all this imbalance either. So that's the thing with the bull market. You may not clean up all this major imbalance that ends up coming into the market as a result. It's just not like that for sure. So like this, I don't think that's going to get cleaned up because that would mean it would have to come back down to below 75,000. I just don't see that being realistic right now. I don't see it being realistic for it to come all the way back down here because like between here, there's so much buy pressure. Yeah. So let's look at the weekly chart. Come down here, 50-week moving average couldn't go below that, bounced off of it, and has remained up here. So now I've been looking at this 92,000 area. It looks very solid and has proved to be solid because I said last week that it didn't look like it was going to break below that, and it didn't. So let's put the drawings on. Why do I have that at 95? Yeah, there it is. So again, we talked about all these different things. So you had the weekly moving average that price bounced off of. This was the middle of the bull flag too, so it bounced off of here. And as soon as it bounced off that moving average, because I hear it came down and tapped this long-term support, I was telling somebody the other day, we will never see a $50,000 Bitcoin again. It's not going to happen. I don't see that being possible because even in August, when demand was much lower than it is now, we could barely even tap 50,000. It got down to literally $49,050. So it got $1,000 below 50,000. And that was back on August 5th. So was that 4 months ago? 4 months ago, it could tap 50 and then it never saw 50 again. So if it didn't see 50 there, it's not going to see 50 here. And I think everyone's thinking that, we're going to have this crazy crash or whatnot. We'll have crashes along the way. We'll have dips. I'm not even going to call them crashes, but like I think the days of us having, these 80% and 70% crash bear markets that last for 2 years, I'm pretty confident that's over. At this point, the supply and demand does not support an extended bear market, I would say. There's just so much more demand than there is supply at this point. And this is where we're at that inflection point to where we were flipping from supply dynamics to where supply is overpowering to more so demand dynamics to where it's like, all right, well, the demand is completely outstripping the supply, and that's only going to intensify as time goes on. So Bitcoin is programmed to go up and to the right forever. Again, with occasional dips, but if you look at it over the long term, it's going to be up and to the right, and it's going to keep going. So I said last week that this was we were going to come down to this area, and we already had been down to this area, like 92K, and it was going to reject because it's already rejected before. It's rejected once, twice, here, probably did it again here, went a little bit below, couldn't do it, and then came back up. So we're at like 97,000 right now. So that's pretty good. That's solid on the weekly chart. I don't think there's too much else to it. Let's look at the daily. Yeah, and then I also talked about last week too the fact that the daily chart had this moving average here, this 50-day moving average, that it was bouncing off, couldn't get below that. So to try to get below both of those is hard. So the next goal for this one is to be able to get above 100K and maintain above here, and then get above this channel. So you have 3 points. 100K, you got to get above this channel, you got to get above this all-time high. So once you get above those 3 points and sustain and maybe come up here, retest, and then go back, you're going to be good. Yeah, so I think that's it for, and I did talk about we need to get above these moving averages. Still waiting for this white 54-hour moving average to get up top. Once that is, you're in full-blown kind of bull territory. And we see that has not happened since, to where all three of these have been above. That was December 22nd, so before Christmas. So, it's been a couple weeks and about 2 weeks, and now we're moving back up to the upside. So that's good to see. I think that is enough technical analysis. Let's look at the news for the week. So ISM services, there's really not much this week. The only big thing is the non-farm payroll on next Friday. I already talked about that a little bit last week. So that is a rather big news event. But realistically, when we're talking about Bitcoin, like these economic reports outside of interest rates, I would say they really don't affect them as much. It's much more impactful to markets like the Forex market. And this is actually forexfactory.com. So this is where I've been getting my news for years, because it's right to the point. And when I say my news, I'm talking about actual economic, press releases from, major political bodies and whatnot. So things like Euro, USD, British Pound, USD, Japanese Yen, USD, Swiss franc, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, British Pound, and Japanese Yen. All of these are super strongly affected by these news events, and some more than others. Like non-farm payroll, that's the one where some people just stay out of the market because it gets so volatile. So not too much there. The next thing we have coming up in the coming weeks is CPI, inflation, that comes out on the 15th. They also closed the stock market on the 9th, Thursday, January 9th. That's an interesting day for sure. Power to the players, can't stop, won't stop GameStop. I'm telling y'all, something's about to pop there for sure. I know this is the Bitcoin forecast, but I'm gonna always take my time out for GameStop. So apparently there's some stimulus checks on the horizon. Not for everybody, but it seems like the IRS is going to send stimulus checks, about $1,400 to about 1 million Americans. So it's quite a bit of money. And you see a lot of these posts are from recent days. Like these are, 4 days, 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks ago. What do I mean? Why is this good? This is extra liquidity for retail investors to be able to get into the market. I hate that this. I hope people don't end up being extra liquidity, but this is how it works. They they hold the market down for so long, and then the market starts to get exciting. They pump some money in. You remember in 2020 they sent stimulus checks not too long after things started going to the moon. So I think we're going to see a resurgence of things like Robinhood and a lot of this trading activity. But I hope the people who traded in 2020 and 2021 they continue to pay attention, because you're going to have another opportunity to actually get there. But I hope you don't lose your money. I hope you got your head in check. But yeah, expect some stimmies on the horizon. And also, along with stimulus payments, you have the FTX repayments, which are starting on, I think they started last Friday. So again, you see like these are very recent headlines. So FTX payment plan is now effective. When will users see their funds? $16 billion worth of repayment. And then payment plan to take effect today. FTX kicks off $1.2 billion repayment plan. That's a discrepancy. 16 billion versus 1.2. I don't know which one's the actual right number, but let's see. Either way, it's a couple billion. I'm seeing 16 billion. So I think the 1.2 might be something different, but no, that's good. It's making moves to make these payments. So we will end up seeing some more money flow into the market. And the cool part about the FTX payments is that these are already people who have somewhat of a vested interest in crypto because they've been following it for a while. Like, hey, where's my money? If nothing else. But now they know about crypto. This money is going right back into the crypto market. So 16 billion getting poured into the market is going to be good. And maybe it's not all 16 billion, but some percentage of it and proportion of it. But we'll see. Last thing I'll look at is Bitcoin profitable days. And I might look at one more chart too. So this is a pretty simple one. This is the number of days where if you would have held at any point prior to this, you would have been profitable. So if you would have bought at any point, well, no, I guess this is what it's looking at. Like all out of all the wallets, there's only 0.3% of them that aren't profitable in Bitcoin right now because like we've gone so high. So you see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little red spike up here, and I'll zoom in a second. But 99% of the people who have bought Bitcoin, 99.7% of the wallets that are holding Bitcoin are profitable at this point. So out of 5,255 days at this point. So let's zoom in. See this? Boom. So yeah, let's zoom into the past couple days. You see there's a couple days where it's like, all right, well, if you would have bought here, like you might not be as profitable. And this is coming back to November when we really kind of almost broke above 100K and then finally did it in December. We've just been in this little 90 range for a while. We knew that 100K was going to be pretty hard to hit, but at this point, almost 100% of people who are holding Bitcoin or who have held it at any point in history are profitable. So let's look at one more chart. And then I'll call it a day. Bitcoin Cycle Master, Global Liquidity. Now this one is interesting. This is the Global M2 and recent data for, well, I guess we don't have the full data for that, but this is the price of Bitcoin. So you can see as this dips down, as the global money and liquidity, as we've talked about, dips down, this dips. And as it starts to rise, okay, well, so does Bitcoin. And so all the other stuff. So Bitcoin is very tied to the global monetary supply. And maybe it was stagnant here for a little bit. You had 2018, it went up, and then it just continued on with its arm. So this is a bull run, and this is COVID and all that. So we saw all this money get printed during COVID and just continue on up here. You kind of get to the top here and you see, all right, well, this shrunk. So Bitcoin, the balance sheet shrunk globally. So Bitcoin's price shrunk. And then you get to the end of the road in November. It's just interesting to see how very well correlated this is. So if you're able to literally follow the money, you can do a lot. So this is your global M2. Again, you can come down there. They're looking at the USA, China, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of Canada, the Bank of Russia, and the Reserve Bank of Australia. So they're taking and pooling all of this money and seeing how is it moving net and collectively across the world. So actually, can we do that? No, I'm not going to upgrade right now. I really don't need to. So yeah, again, I think that's it. This has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out your crypto-based resources on christalkscrypto.com, and I will see y'all on the moon. Take care. Bye-bye.